Good morning, and I welcome you to the fifth day of the 96th Annual Conference of the Music Academy Madras. This morning, the prayer is Ananda Natamaduvarthillai in keeping with the topic of the first lecture demonstration of the day. Nilakanta Shivan's Kirtane in Purvi Kalyani Raga will be sung by Saumya of the second year of the Advanced School of Carnatic Music.
ஆனந்த நடமாடுவார்த்தில்லை ஆனந்த நடமாடுவார்த்தில்லை அம்பலம் தன்னில் ஆனந்த நடமாடுவார்த்தில்லை அம்பலம் தனில் ஆனந்த நடமாடுவார்த்தில்லை அம்பலம் தனில் அடிபணிபவர் கபஜயமில்லை ஆனந்த நடமாடுவார்த்தில்லை அம்பலம் தனில் அடிபணிபவர் கபஜயமில்லை ஆனந்த நடமாடுவார்த்தில்லை அம்பலம் தனில் அடிபணிபவர் கபஜயமில்லை ஆனந்த நடமாடுவார்த்தில்லை தானந்தம் இல்லாத ரூபன் தானந்தம் இல்லாத ரூபன் தானந்தம் இல்லாத ரூபன் தானந்தம் இல்லாத ரூபன் தஜ்ஜம் தகஜம் தகதிமி தளாங்குதக ததிகிணத்தோம் தளாங்குதக ததிகிணத்தோம் தகதிமி தகததிகிணத்தோம் என்ற நந்த நடமாடுவார்த்தில்லை தஜ்ஜம் தகஜம் தகதிமி தளாங்குதக ததிகிணத்தோம் தளாங்குதக ததிகிணத்தோம் தகதிமி தகததிகிணத்தோம் என்ற நந்த நடமாடுவார்த்தில்லை அம்பலம் தனில் அடிபணிபவர் கபஜயமில்லை ஆனந்த நடமாடுவார்த்தில்லை பாதிமதி ஜோதி பளிர் பளிர் என பாதசீலம்பொழி கலீர் கலீர் என பாதிமதி ஜோதி பளிர் பளிர் என பாதசீலம்பொழி கலீர் கலீர் என ஆதிகரையுண்ட நீலகண்டம் மின்ன அரபுர ஹர சிவ சங்கர் அருள் குரு பரவர சுந்தர அண்டமும் பிண்டமும் ஆடிட எந்திசையும் புகழ் பாடிட ஆனந்த நடமாடுவார்த்தில்லை அரபுர ஹர சிவ சங்கர அருள் குரு பரவர சுந்தர அண்டமும் பிண்டமும் ஆடிட எந்திசையும் புகழ் பாடிட ஆனந்த நடமாடுவார்த்தில்லை அம்பலம் தனில் அடிபணிபவர் கபஜயமில்லையானந்த நடமாடுவார்த்தில்லை
Vidushi Rama Vaidyanathan, a student of Vidushi Yamini Krishnamurti and Guru Saroja Vaidyanathan. Rama is a graduate from the Delhi University, and she also holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in Bharatanatyam from the Indira Kala Sangeet Vishwavidyalaya, which she obtained in 1997. She has had a performing career in dance spanning more than 35 years. As the Vice President of the Ganesha Natyalaya, New Delhi, she has also been involved in teaching dance for over 3 decades. She happens to be the recipient of the Nritya Kalanidhi in the forthcoming Dance Festival of the Music Academy Madras this year. She will be accompanied in this lecture demonstration by Sudha Raghuraman, who will be providing vocal music, Sumod Sridharan on the mridangam, and G. Raghuraman on the flute. The lecture demonstration will be for 45 minutes, after which we will have comments by members of the experts committee and others. The Music Academy follows a very strict no recording policy, and I request all of you to keep your cell phones on silent mode, preferably in switch off mode so that you are not tempted to pick it up and record in the middle. The Boy Scouts and the Lady Scouts around will keep a tight watch on any surreptitious recording, so please do not attempt any. Thank you very much. I look forward to your cooperation.
Namaskaram. It's a great honor to be here. And my disciple Shubhamani Chandrasekhar on the Natuvangam this morning. So my topic today that I chose to speak upon is stillness in dance. The Kathopanishad said, when the 5 organs of perception become still, together with the mind and the intellect calms down, that is called the supreme state of being. Ramana Maharshi said, remaining quiet is what is called wisdom insight. A mind full of information is always restless, and that mind, they say, can never realize the truth. One needs to be in a state of shunya, detaching ourselves from all thoughts, surrendering to a larger reality to be able to achieve self-realization. Similarly, can a dance packed with dance get internalized? For rasanubhava or for an aesthetic experience in dance, we must pause the plethora of movements and walk down and flow seamlessly into the quietness. The momentum generated through movement must come down. We often speak of the beauty in stillness and how dance needs to declutter to communicate better. Why? It's because with renewed clarity, it's because during those fleeting moments of repose, the spectator is able to view the dancer with renewed clarity and is able to focus on what the dancer did before and after the still moment. Stillness should not be interpreted as inactivity or relaxedness. In fact, Martha Graham said, I have learned the hardest thing in the world. I have learned to stand still. She also said, I quote, it's far more difficult to preserve one's integrity in stillness rather than in action, unquote. As a dancer, to ignore the noise of movement around me and to engage in the ultimate truth of my presence in a still moment is a tough choice to make, especially when we all are catering to the notion that the audience constantly wants movement and will be satiated only with perpetual action. When we can so easily slip into this misconception of, I am a dancer, I'm supposed to hone all my movement skills and not stop moving, because that is what is dance. I remember a very, very well-known musician said that I spent 12 months learning what I have to play, and I spent a lifelong learning what not to play. And as a choreographer, I feel that the success of a choreography is not what you do, it's what you don't. It's what you delete. It's what you do not bring to the table. Sometimes to be silently stationary can perhaps communicate far more than movement itself. During those precious moments of equanimity, the dancer's emotional and physical presence becomes manifold. In fact, the calmness and tranquility of that timeless moment showcases her dynamism, control, and mastery over the grammar. Being still can make a powerful and significant statement. Dance comes naturally, but stillness happens out of choice. Therefore, the communicative power of stillness is at par with movement itself. In a scenario where you're expected to move and you say, "Let me stop so that I can dance," you are bound to attract attention. Like the sole car that you immediately notice when it halts, disregarding the several others that speed by you. Stillness is not only the physical pauses perceived by the audience, but it is also the all-embracing experience of peace and harmony felt by the performer. A sense of equilibrium between the mind, body, and soul. We could probably draw a parallel with the two streams of Abhinaya, the Sthai Bhava and the Sanchari Bhava. A sense of composure experienced by the dancer can be equivalent to Sthai Bhava, and the frenetic activity of movement can be equivalent to Sanchari Bhava. It is like experiencing a calm amidst the storm, where each moment is a stretch of time in space. Sthai is the mind and Sanchari is the body, where each movement emerges out of a deep-rooted space, where each movement is an organic extension of the mind. If we see the Nataraja statue, we will notice the frenetic activity happening around him. His tresses are flying, the snakes are aroused, fire is emerging from one hand, incessant sound of the drum from the other, and the dwarf demon being squashed under his foot. But amidst all this, his face is the epitome of peace and tranquility. It is every dancer's endeavor to reach that state of ultimate harmony where, while the physical body is in movement, the mind is in a state of focused consciousness. Simply put, the body is dancing and the mind is meditating. This duality of dance is fascinating. The paradoxical idea of a still mind, a moving body. The dynamics of the two opposites can be interestingly constructed in a way that both movement and stillness feed into each other. The Bhagavad Gita says, "In the still mind, in the depths of meditation, the self reveals." For a dancer, the stillness of the mind can be transformational, for she can discover layers of interpretations that can add depth to her dance. The self spoken in the Gita is, in my interpretation for us as dancers, the dance. It is this self or one's dance that can divulge itself with more clarity to us. Just as meditation reveals the self, I think a still mind reveals the dance. Which is why many of our gurus have said that dance is like meditation. It is the coming together of our breath with the space around us. It is the unison of the inwards with the outwards. It is the confluence of the explicit and the implicit. In simpler words, it is the coming together of movement and stillness. In one of his poems, T.S. Eliot wrote, "At the still point of the turning world, neither flesh nor fleshless, neither from nor towards. At the still point, there the dance is. But neither arrest nor movement. And do not call it fixity, where past and future are gathered, neither movement from nor towards, neither ascent nor decline, except for the point, that still point. There would be no dance, and there is only dance." I just love that. There would be no dance, and there is only dance. I can say there we have been, but I cannot say where. And I cannot say how long, for that is the place it in time. I just adore this poem by Eliot because it speaks of the timelessness of that still moment, that pregnant pause that can be stretched in time, that magic moment that cannot be described but only experienced. Dance therapists often utilize the strength of stillness, emphasizing the control over breath. Inhalation and exhalation, as we know, is the first rhythmic movement that a living being experiences. In a sense, it is our first dance. Understanding the breath, contemplating upon it, is not only an exercise in yoga, it is also an indelible aspect of dance. Breathing exercises before we start dancing help us gather our energies and drop off anything that we don't need to carry into our dance. A lighter mind is more likely to be still than a mind crowded with thoughts. We all know that the mind is notorious for its wayward ways, making it perennially difficult for us to control it. For dancers, the task is coupled with control of the body as well as control of the mind. The Tamil poem that I'm going to dance now translates everything that I have just said. Tirumular, the genius philosopher from the 11th century, wrote this in his tantric work, the Tirumandiram. He wrote it to describe his relationship with Shiva, and I have taken it to interpret the dancer's relationship with dance. Adangada ennai adakki adi vaitida. My mind was wavering until you channeled it towards the right path. In the dance interpretation, to explore this thought, I have brought in the imagery of the kite. The flying kite is uncontrolled and directionless in the sky until it is calmed down by its roots, until its restlessness is controlled by a steady hand. As a dancer, I have all the movements in my muscle memory, but how can I channelize these movements to create a meditative path for myself? In the next line, he says, Padandan seidulla padindirindane. The painter's brush moves feverishly until the picture is forever contained within the canvas. The poet here marvels at the dichotomy of the continuous movement of the painter's hand, miraculously resulting in the inertia of the painted picture. Dance too churns and investigates every movement until there is no more movement and there is only stillness. So I find a metaphor of a painter using his painting brush and feverishly painting, and I find that as a perfect metaphor to show that every movement that the dancer goes through, it is a churning process for her to bring the stillness into herself. So dance too churns and investigates every movement, just like the moving painter's brush. Until there is no more movement and there is only stillness. So until the painter's brush stops and then he suddenly finds his painting captured in the canvas. When the synergies of stillness and movement amalgamate, you can see stillness in movement and movement in stillness. When there is no dance, and there is only dance. When there is actually no dance, but you can still see the dance. When the soul is the main protagonist and not the body. This is the moment of epiphany. This is the moment that sets you free and liberates you. This is the moment of stillness. So I would like to present that piece for you today. And the music has been composed by Sudhara Guraman in Ragam Shyam Kalyan.
அடங்காத என்னை அடக்கி அடி வைத்திட 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 அடங்காத வைத்திட அடங்காத என்னை அடக்கி அடி 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 வைத்திட படந்தான் செய்துள்ளோர் படிந்திருந்தானே படந்தான் செய்துள்ளோர் படிந்திருந்தானே அடங்காத என்னை அடக்கி அடி வைத்திட அடங்காத என்னை அடக்கி அடி வைத்திட படந்தான் செய்துள்ளோர் படிந்திருந்தானே படந்தான் செய்துள்ளோர் படிந்திருந்தானே அடங்காத என்னை அடக்கி அடி வைத்திட அடங்காத என்னை அடக்கி அடி வைத்திட படந்தான் செய்துள்ளோர் படிந்திருந்தானே படந்தான் செய்துள்ளோர் படிந்திருந்தானே அடங்காத என்னை அடக்கி அடி வைத்திட அடங்காத என்னை அடக்கி அடி வைத்திட படந்தான் செய்துள்ளோர் படிந்திருந்தானே படந்தான் செய்துள்ளோர் படிந்திருந்தானே அடங்காத அடங்காத என்னை அடக்கி 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 அடி வைத்திட அடங்காத அடங்காத என்னை அடக்கி 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 அடி வைத்திட அடங்காத என்னை அடக்கி அடி வைத்திட பரடந்தான் என்புள் படிந்திருந்தானே படந்தான் செய்குள் படிந்திருந்தானே
So this piece that I chose to depict was to showcase the philosophical aspect of stillness, the internal stillness and the equanimity of the mind, body and soul. I want to now demonstrate a piece that explores the actual pauses and the actual freezes that are visible to the physical eye. Tamadam Shayyalagumo Idu Samayam. This beautiful line from this Purvi Kalyani Varnam, where the Naika is talking to her Sakhi and she says, is it right to delay Idu Samayam, at this time? So time for the lovelorn Naika is stretched. So when we are waiting, if it is 5 minutes, it always feels like more than 5 minutes. And when we are having fun, the 5 minutes slip off like that. So it's our perception of time, of how we perceive ourselves to be at that moment of time. So for the Naika here, she is agonizingly waiting for her Lord, and the whole world seems to be standstill in slow motion. A day which took 24 hours for her seems much more than that for her, because every moment is stretched. So I'm going to just explore this Sanchari based on what I just spoke.
தாமதம் செய்யலாகுமோ இது சமயம், தாமதம் செய்யலாகுமோ இது சமயம், தாமதம் செய்யலாகுமோ இது சமயம், தாமதம் செய்யலாகுமோ இது சமயம் தாமதம் செய்யலாகுமோ இது சமயம் செய்யலாகுமோ இது சமயம் தாமதம் 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 தாமதம் செய்யலாகுமோ இது சமயம் 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 தாமதம் செய்யலாகுமோ செய்யலாகுமோ
So there is no point in me as a dancer saying that I need to feel still. I need to feel that equanimity. I need to feel that movement is the sthai and my meditative spirit inside. The movement is sanchari and my meditative spirit within me is the sthai. Words are very nice. You can go on and on and on talking about how stillness in dance is beautiful. how do we incorporate it? And not only as a dancer, but also as a teacher, how do I instill that aspect? Because it's easy to get good aramandi and get good angashuddhi and get good bhava according to the poetry of the padam, to have auchitam, and also to have a sense of vivacity in the dance. But how do we bring that invisible element, and which is actually a very personal thing for the dance? You may or may not see it in the dancer, but for a dancer to grow, and in her journey, in his or her journey, I think this is an extremely important aspect. So, I have created some exercises that help me and my dancers and my students. Now, when two people get together in a good relationship, the more time they spend with each other, the more they get to know each other. They know each other's flaws, they know each other's strengths, and they know how to maneuver themselves through these flaws and through these strengths, these weaknesses. And the strength and conviction of the relationship grows. It grows only because of the quality time that two people spend with each other. I feel when I take an adavu, the time that I spend with that adavu makes me understand the nuances of that adavu. But if the adavu is lasting for 5 seconds, like tattai tam, dittai tam, tattai tam, dittai tam, just that one adavu, it lasts for 5 seconds. Now, I need to know this adavu and I need to do it 50 times. I need to do it 100 times. But the ratio of the length of the adavu with the time that you spend with it actually is not the right ratio. The right ratio will be when an adavu for 5 seconds, you stretch it to 50. That is the time spent. Because if you are spending 5 seconds on each adavu, it is meant to be spent. So that's 5 seconds and 5 seconds and 5 seconds. You've only spent 5 seconds with that adavu. So I have devised an exercise where all our adavus we do in slow motion. And dancers here, you should try it because it is actually addictive and also meditative. And you understand where you are going wrong, and really, like a relationship, you will immediately understand the dynamics of the adavu vis-a-vis your body. And then when you are actually doing it in real time, because we don't do slow motion adavus, when you're doing it in real time in a tilana or a jati swaram or a jati in a varnam, it comes so naturally to you because you have made friends with it. You have got this strong, you've created this bond with that adavu, that relationship with that adavu, and that adavu will never, ever let you down because of the time that you've spent. A 5-second adavu, you have spent 50 seconds with it. So I'm going to just demonstrate one or two of these adavus. Thank you for listening so patiently. I'd like to throw it open to any questions that you may have. And can we have the light on the audience, please?
We will begin with members of the experts committee. I think we've had a lot of stillness. Anyone from the executive committee? Would somebody from the executive committee ask? Dr. Rita Rajan?
Namaskaram, ma. It was so wonderful. Regarding the stillness, we find reference to stillness in Srimad Bhagavatam during the Rasa dance. When Krishna was dancing with the gopis, the Rasa dance was, it started and it was in full progression, and slowly it comes to a stop. Slowly the dancers stopped dancing, Krishna also stopped, the gopis stopped, the musical instruments all stopped, everything stopped, and even the stars in the sky stopped blinking. So you find a reference to stillness in dance in Srimad Bhagavatam, and also in Narayaniam, the 69th chapter, Rasa dance, you find a very beautiful description of the stillness in dance, which was a real bliss after the dance. I was remembered of that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Check, thank you. Question one, is there any mention
Only
of
one question per person, please.
Then
Yeah.
two quick questions then.
One question.
Okay, so is there any mention of stillness in Bharata's Natya Shastra?
Bharata speaks about several charis and several movements, but he also speaks about the auchitam and the moment of the sthai bhava. And I would interpret his explanation of the sthai bhava as the dancer's equanimity with her body, mind, and soul.
Thank you. I see Gauri Ramnarayan in the audience. Gauri, would you like to say anything? Would you have any question or comment?
One more if there are
No
questions.
mics, please. We'll pass it on. Yeah. The first day I see a familiar face, they are subjected to some ragging. So,
I was deeply moved by your quoting Eliot, because it's one of my most favorite lines too. And when you first read it, did you really think of Nataraja, and did you think of the Nataraja Tattvam, the Ananda Tattvam? What was your reaction to those lines when you first read them? And what is your reaction now?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because when I first read it as a student of English literature, it was about how beautifully he's explored that dance, and his exposition is so convincing and with so much of clarity. So it was more a technical way, a clinical way of looking at his poetry. But then, as you grow older and older, and you get more steeped and more stillness acquired into your dance, you do see what he was talking about. And he was actually talking about so many things. He was talking about the bindu. He was talking about Ananda Kute, that is blissful chaos. You know, that Tirumular speaks about Ananda Kute. So he was talking about blissful chaos. So this whole dichotomy of movement and stillness, it's only later that I kind of imbibed and absorbed the real meaning.
When we sing bhajans, and after the Deepa Pradarsanam, we all sit down when we start singing Gopika Geetam. At that time, we experience what you call the stillness. And this stillness can be applied to the other forms of music or other forms of arts forms also.
Yes, absolutely. Like I quoted a musician who said, I spent 12 months learning what to play and a lifetime learning what not to play. So, yes, it can be anything, any creative art. I think it can be applied to that.
I have a question. See, in Carnatic music, we come across very many artists who have explored the pause with great effect. The late Mali was one in his flute performances. M.D. Ramanathan was the other. Sangeeta Kalanidhi, K.V. Narayan Swami was the third. In dance, and given your experience of having watched so many performers, have you come across any exemplary performers who have explored the stillness prior to your thinking about it and now when you look back at it?
I think there are several who are senior to me who have used the stillness in several ways. For example, Kalanidhi Mami used to use a lot of stillness in Abhinaya. My guru Yamini Krishnamurti used to use stillness in Nritta, in pure dance. Though she has this reputation of being a firebrand and, running around the stage and with a lot of energy, but then she would finish a movement and then she would strike a pose and she would look like a statue. And I would be sitting by the side. I felt she wouldn't even breathe. So it was those moments that I felt that, and then the movement would feed into the stillness. The stillness would feed into the movement. It was magical because when she would stand still, I would still see the movement which she had done before she stood still. So that was really magical.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. The mic can now move on to the Sangeeta Kalanidhi designates. Thiruvarur Bhaktavatsam sir, anything? Krishnan or Viji?
That was a brilliant presentation. Thank you so much. A very profound subject, very difficult to capture and explain. I think it came out beautifully because of your very intellectual research oriented approach. And I have had the pleasure of witnessing Srimati Rama's presentations in Australia recently for IPAC. It has always been so. You have a very thorough way of presenting even abstract subjects like this. And when I think of stillness, I can only recall Tayumanavar's verses, where he says, Kanduga Madakkariye Vasama Nadathalam, and he goes on to list many impossible things which can be achieved with the power of intellect or sadhana. But what is very difficult is to Shindiyai adakkiye summa iruttal aridu. So I think stillness, as you mentioned, has many shades, many bhavas, and it is true of music also. And that stillness I have always experienced in my guru's music. It is also because it is just not expressed, it is internalized, and it comes from within, which is very important. Only when it comes from within, it can be expressed effectively, and it also goes to the audience. So, and when you look at music, the oneness is also stillness. In oneness, there is stillness. And a beautiful example for this is when the tambura shruti, all the four strings are tuned perfectly, there is a gandharam that emerges. That gandharam is stillness. And also we have seen this stillness in very potent stillness in Sangeeta Kalanidhi, the doyen Laya master Palgat Maniyar's playing, where the prelude, what comes before the pauses, adds a lot of value to the pauses, and also what follows the pause embellishes the pause that was established already. Yes. So And again, in painting on a canvas with all the riots of colors, I think a patch of soft white can produce that stillness. So stillness can be expressed through any art form. And in music, of course, when Shruti Bedam is done, and then you come to the Graha Raga, to the Sajjam, the stillness is established. So I think dance and music, they complement each other in expressing this stillness. And I want to thank Sudha Raghuram for beautifully that Shyam Kalyan definitely brought that stillness and the beauty of stillness so well. It is also very important for the music to go with the mind of the dancer to bring that stillness. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Vidwan Neveli Santana Gopalan, sir.
Namaste. Thank you so much. We all experienced that stillness. But, we could see you were perspiring. For our stillness, you sacrificed yourself. So that is a wonderful thing. And my question is it possible to detach our body and mind while dancing? Because in music, I have tried in my own humble way. So I always want to feel that I don't exist. Something is doing its own job. I am happy with that. But for creativity, we need some aham. Kinchit aham uldena gani chaduvena radu. So what is your experience about it? Yeah. Have you ever experienced that your body is just moving and you are the soul is there with you to experience that stillness?
I think it is a constant work in progress, a constant endeavor. And the aham that you're talking about, yes, and because for dancers, the aham is the body, the instrument. So the instrument is definitely necessary and vital there. But as I said, the protagonist should not be the body, but the soul. So when that soul is expressing, then that is when there is a detachment with the physical body.
Thank you very much, Vidushi Rama Vaidyanathan. Thank you very much, and thank you to all your accompanists. Thanks a lot for being here, for being such a wonderful audience. We'll draw the curtains briefly to prepare the stage for the second lecture demonstration of the morning. Kindly bear with us.